Yoonji wanted to learn how to control Hyuna and Soman just like he had said. He didn't understand what she meant by controlling them. The more she watched, the less she could believe it. Those two were the least friendly members of the club, and yet Hyuna and Soman seemed to follow Jang with all their hearts. Before he even realized it, he had become the master of those two little demons. From his perspective, he wasn't even sure they were really following him, but that was how Yoonji saw it. She asked if he had trouble talking about it. Jang tried to explain, but Yoonji just smiled and said it was a shame. She was curious to know how he managed it. She understood that everyone had things they couldn't talk about, but she felt that if she knew how he had done it, maybe she could help him. To her, it seemed there still wasn't enough trust between them. She asked if he found anything suspicious about her. For him, that wasn't the case. His opinion hadn't changed. She emphasized that she needed a skilled and capable club, no matter the methods he used. She wouldn't have any issues with that. That's why she had such high expectations for him and was counting on him from now on. Surprised by her words, he clenched his hand into a fist and said he would count on her too. At the club, Hyuna was thrilled. They had won 300,000 won from their victory. She couldn't believe it was real, holding the winner's certificate with her own hands. Jang silently watched her. She asked him to say something while she poked him to make sure she wasn't dreaming. He said she should pinch herself if she wanted to check. Hyuna realized it was real. It was the club's first victory after 217 days of being founded. The number of team eliminations was 381, and of those, 337 belonged to Jang alone, more than 97%. He still felt they had a long way to go. Hyuna didn't know what to do. Professional teams were starting to call her. She would have to follow the money and possibly move to China. Young figured he should feel happy for her, but no matter how happy she was, he couldn't bring himself to smile. She asked where everyone had gone and why it was just the two of them. Jang explained that it was midterm season. That's why after winning yesterday, everyone had gone straight home. She didn't understand why they cared so much about exams. He teased her, saying she had cried all the way home, which she strongly denied. But the photos they had taken seemed to show otherwise. She asked why he was there if it was exam season. He explained his exams were next week, so he still had time. Still, she insisted he should be out with friends, not stuck there. But he noticed she came every day too. She made up an excuse, saying it was because she was the honorary chairwoman. Then she suggested they go celebrate together. He said they should first check with Yoonji about the club's finances, but Hyuna insisted they didn't need to. They had tournament money now. Jang thought that idea was crazy. They were supposed to use that money for the club, not themselves. Hyuna simply told him to follow her and forget about it. Today she would pay for all the food. He was skeptical she even had money. She admitted she forgot to bring the tournament prize, but Jang told her to just leave it for now. At the restaurant, the waitress informed them that her credit limit had been exceeded. After trying a third time, Jang suggested they stop. He was worried about Hyuna's dignity. Hyuna said she had gotten money from her mom yesterday and guessed the bank must be closed today. The waitress informed them the bill was 138,000 won and asked if they were paying in full. Yang wanted to split it into 48 months if possible. Hyuna was devastated. Jang told her to put her hands down and show her face. It was not the Hyuna he knew anymore. But in truth, what had really disappeared was his bank account. He didn't understand why she was so stressed when she was the one who told him to use the prize money. At 25 years old, this was the most embarrassing day of his life. Still, Hyuna ordered the most expensive item on the menu because her frappuccino tasted great, she said. Jang stayed silent for a moment, remembering Yoonji's words about how this would be fun. Now he finally understood what she meant. Hyuna looked at him confused. He kept smiling, making her uncomfortable. It wasn't paying that bothered him, so when she offered him a sip of her drink, he flatly refused. He took the chance to ask if there was anything else she wanted to do that day. If they were celebrating, they might as well go out a little. Hyuna asked shyly if it would be like a date, making Jang blush heavily. That wasn't what he had meant. She laughed, realizing he had high hopes. He cursed himself internally for even suggesting it, but she didn't seem to mind. She found his innocent reaction charming. A bit nervously, she asked what he wanted to do. Before he could answer, someone nearby seemed to recognize Hyuna. She turned around to see who it was. It had been a long time since they had met. The stranger hadn't seen Hyuna since she quit nearly a year ago and asked how she was doing. Hyuna had quit without a word, leaving Jang a little confused by the conversation. Moments later, they were both on the bus, sitting in silence. In Jang's mind, the situation felt strange. He had never seen her like that before. He felt like he should say something because the atmosphere was heavy. He wondered what had happened at the cafe. Let's rewind a bit. Earlier, Hyun-ah's friend, Han, had approached to ask how she was and if Jang was her boyfriend. Hyun-ah quickly said she had mistaken her for someone else, that she didn't know her. Han apologized and was about to leave. Jang also apologized and said goodbye to Han. Then he asked Hyun-ah to wait a moment as they left her friend behind. Back to the present, he remembered that Hyun-ah had resigned, meaning that person must have been her former colleague. He also recalled the company ID, definitely from a big company. Putting all the pieces together, he tried to call her, but she dismissed it, saying it was a waste. Not just because she had left in a rush, but also because she didn't even get to finish her expensive frappuccino. It felt like such a waste after making him buy something so pricey. Yang asked if she was really okay. She didn't understand why she wouldn't be. He pointed out what happened at the cafe. Hyun-ah said she just felt a little nervous after unexpectedly seeing someone from her past. It wasn't a big deal. Then she asked if he was worried about her. Feeling proud, she teased him. Imagine a loser like him being worried about someone like her. She laughed, and he felt like he had truly hit rock bottom. Later, after getting off the bus, it was already getting dark. Jang didn't know where to go next. When he turned around, he saw Hyun-ah walking away without saying anything. Confused, he asked where she was going. She said she was heading home, but to him, the celebration wasn't over yet. She apologized, saying she was tired and that they could celebrate next time with everyone else. She waved goodbye. He called out for her to wait, but she just kept walking, leaving him behind as he stood there watching her disappear into the night. Meanwhile, Hyun-ah sat alone by the riverside, visibly sad, with tears in her eyes. Suddenly, someone caught her attention with a soft sound. It was Yang, tossing an empty can, who mentioned that he heard it was going to get really cold that night. She joked about how rude he was being. Then she realized, what was he doing there? It was almost like he was stalking her. Jang said he didn't even know she was there and thought stalker sounded a bit harsh. He claimed he was just passing by. She told him to drop the stalker excuse. He was acting weird. He said he just wanted to see the river, too. He didn't even know there was a view like that near the club. To him, it felt like a refreshing change of pace. Earlier, she said she was fine, but now she was sitting there, crying quietly while staring at the night sky. She insisted she was fine, just admiring the night view. But she clearly looked out of place. Hyun-ah admitted she was just reflecting on the past a little. It wasn't a big deal. Jang said he had plenty to say about the past, too. She already knew a lot about him, from the time he was a professional gamer. But he didn't want to talk about it. She teased him, reminding him that he had once said he would. He recalled a phrase someone had told him, "Everyone has things they can't talk about. If you understand that, you'll understand others." Hearing that, Hyun-ah froze in place, surprised and slightly blushing. She asked him seriously if he had been sincere the first time they met, because he was good at attracting people. They both fell silent. He hadn't intended to charm her. He hadn't been trying to. He asked her to forget what he said. Hyun-ah stood up with a bright smile, saying they had sat there long enough. It was time to go home. But Jang grabbed her hand and told her that now he was trying to win her over. Hyun-ah's face turned bright red, completely flustered by his words. Some time later, we see the two of them together, performing a mass. We go back a little in time. In the park, they were both walking under a strange atmosphere, different from the afternoon. He had been confident with his words earlier, but now he didn't know what to do. He had never even walked with a woman before. Hyun-ah asked him what he was doing and where he was taking her. They had already walked very far without realizing it. She seemed a little uneasy. It was dark and no one was around. She had followed him blindly out of curiosity about what they were going to do, but if they weren't going to do anything, they should leave. He grabbed her hand, catching her by surprise. He assumed that if he held her hand, she wouldn't feel scared, and it would be good for her both physically and mentally. He thought she would figure out that it was his first time doing something like this. She assumed he had brought her to such a lonely place just to hold her hand. They had already done so much together, and now holding hands seemed like such a big deal to him. But it wasn't just that. She seemed to be in low spirits, and he didn't want to scare her any further. He thought she would feel better if they held hands. She fell silent, stopped to think for a moment, and then firmly held his hand. She thought it wasn't so bad. He was simply trying to cheer her up. He had been worried about her all that time, so she decided to give him a reward. She guided his hand and handed him a small bun she had brought. She was giving him a reward. He knew how much he loved those buns. He told her she didn't have to, but she noticed he was still gripping the bun tightly. She knew exactly how crazy he could get for them. He finished opening the bun, reminding her that she was the one who had started everything that time. They had won that day, and he had worked hard for her, so he knew he deserved a proper reward. He began preparing a jutsu, which caught her off guard. She started to speak, but was surprised when he grabbed one of the buns and began to eat it. She worried that someone might pass by and see them. He asked her to stay quiet, noticing that the yogurt she had brought was starting to thaw. Every time she was with him, she couldn't keep her rationality. She felt she could even go fetch holy water just because he was eating the gummies she had brought. She didn't know when he had gotten so good at preparing for the Mass. Looking intently at her, he told her he was going to get the Bible. Now we return to the present, where Yang was reading the first paragraphs of the Bible. She didn't expect that he would convince her to read it. Every time he looked at her, he couldn't contain his spirit. She knew he just wanted to read together every time. Even so, he noticed she had let the yogurt melt, though she denied it silently in her mind. She couldn't stop thinking about how delicious the buns she had prepared were. She reminded him that he had promised not to leave the club if they held a Mass together. She told him he should never break that promise, and then proceeded to kiss him. She asked if he had a rosary. He couldn't tell her that he had already used all of them with Soman. She told him that it would be the last time they prayed like that, so he could proceed without a rosary. He couldn't believe it. She assured him that it was a sacred day, and that he shouldn't worry, so he went to fetch the holy water. He had spilled too much holy water. He wanted to know if she was okay since she seemed unable to move. He tried to help her stand up again, but she assured him it was nothing. He hugged her because she had said she was cold, but told her if she didn't like it, she only had to say so. She pointed out that she wasn't cold anymore, but asked if he had other motives. Normally, guys treated that kind of situation as something more. He admitted that maybe he did, which made both of them blush. She asked if he wanted to pray one more time and said it was fine if he didn't want to. He made sure she still wanted to and said they could pray 3 or 4 more times. She noticed that he never said no, which made her think he was a bit crazy about religion. She seemed a little uncomfortable, so she called him to start again. In his mind, her call felt a little tricky. She clung to him, but there was something he wanted to try. A new way of reading. She was surprised. The corruption of her soul seemed to grow, and she asked him to stop because it was too embarrassing. She felt like he could reach deep into her soul. She didn't know where he had learned that way of reading. It felt like they were two professionals in religion. She continued, feeling it was a little shameful, while for him, everything felt crazy, seeing how shy she was. He spotted the buns she had brought. She grabbed him and repeated that she had already told him he was making her embarrassed. He apologized. He had gotten distracted while reading. It was her first time praying in a place like that. It seemed like she was having a lot of first times because he always convinced her to try new religious things. He had encouraged her that day, so she wanted to look directly at him. She liked watching him read. He thought she was the friendliest person in the world during Mass. She warned him he was reading too fast, but for him, it was fine. He moved closer and kissed her. Then he took the chance to start eating one of the buns. She warned him not to eat it all at once. He told her that her prayers were too loud because he was making too much noise while eating. She needed to pray louder, so he should take responsibility. That made him read the Bible even more intensely. Suddenly, they heard voices approaching. They both looked in the direction of the sound. A couple was arguing. The woman wanted to know if he was sure no one was around. The man assured her it was just a deer. She didn't seem completely convinced. He told her she should join the army to see how noises really sounded. It was truly annoying. The couple was startled when they noticed a shadow. Hyun-ah got worried they might hear them, but Jang whispered to her that if it was with her, he didn't mind being seen. She asked him if he was crazy. She didn't understand what he was saying. He continued reading passages from the Bible. She said that her prayers were going to intensify. She couldn't believe how intense his reading was. Meanwhile, back to the couple, the woman asked again if it was really a deer, something that also confused the man. Hyun-ah was feeling strange. She thought about stopping her prayers, but when she looked at him, she felt it was okay to keep going. It was like she was going a little crazy, so she continued praying even louder than before. The couple blushed. It seemed to them that the deer was speaking like a human, so they decided it was better to run away and maybe find a magical city. Jang noticed that the couple had suddenly left. Then he realized that Hyun-ah had started crying, which confused him. After living 21 years, it was the first time he had made a woman cry. He apologized immediately. She had gotten scared that they would be discovered. He asked her to calm down and promised he would do whatever she wanted. Later, she told him to consider the dinner she had made earlier as payment, and that next time he would have to pay for the meal. She asked him to kiss her, asking if he understood or not, and told him to hurry. He kissed her and continued the mass, reading even faster. He asked if her soul had already been purified. She wasn't sure. He gently caressed her hair and noticed how beautiful she looked. She told him that just because of that, she wouldn't go easy on him, so he kept reading. She noticed how his reading became even more intense, and she felt like she needed to fetch some holy water. She asked him to kiss her before she left. He accepted her request, and then she went to get the holy water. Even though it was only their second mass, he had spilled too much holy water again. She didn't know what to do. She stared at him, and he stared back. They stayed like that for a moment. Later, he was carrying her on his back, struggling a bit. She was happy to have an all-terrain transportation service available 24 hours a day, though he told her not to exaggerate, and that there was no reason for it. She complained about all the things he had done and said that it couldn't compare. She repeated one of the phrases he had said, pointing out how religious he sounded, and wondered how he hadn't been stopped already for being like that. He himself didn't understand why he acted that way when he was with her. He just lost all common sense. He apologized and said he wouldn't do it again. She hugged him. She understood that during such a good mass like that, he couldn't help but lose his senses. Hearing that, he blushed and confirmed her suspicions, which made her blush too. She thanked him, something he didn't fully catch, but when he asked, she just said she hadn't said anything. She seemed to enjoy leaving him confused like that. He asked her to stop. She noticed that his phone was ringing and asked if he needed to check it, but he couldn't do it at that moment, so she offered to check it for him. On his phone, there was a message from Soman asking what he was doing. Meanwhile, at the club, Soman was wondering where he could be. The next day, Jang was at the university. His school life had been so fun lately that he wondered if this was when his life was reaching its peak. He felt like it was a lot. Was it really okay to enjoy everything like this? He needed to relax first, but he also had to deal with Soman's situation. There were many things he needed to handle related to the club too. For now, he had to focus on what was coming. The goal wasn't just to dominate the dorms, but to win the regional competitions. Still, there was a bigger problem he had to solve. At the moment, he had to focus on improving the team's skills. In the distance, he heard Soman's name. Some guys seemed to be following her, trying to invite her somewhere, but she didn't seem interested. He realized it was Soman. She seemed to have her own problems. He had only seen her act badly a few times, and seeing her surrounded by guys made him notice how pretty she was. Suddenly, they made eye contact. Soman started waving and called him by a sweet nickname before going to hug him. She told him he had taken too long. She had been wanting to see him. He didn't know what she was up to. She said she was hungry and wanted to spend the night together. Meanwhile, the guys from earlier seemed annoyed by the situation. He asked her to get off him first. She thought about how shy he was. He didn't know how long he needed to carry her. It should have been enough by now. She stomped on him and made him fall. He complained about her doing that. She called out to him, angry. He didn't know why she was acting so badly all of a sudden. She acknowledged that he had helped her out of that situation earlier, but now she remembered she was still mad at him. He had left her on read. She demanded to hear his excuse. He remembered the day before. He had been very tired because of everything that had happened. He remembered that his phone had rung earlier, and when he checked, he saw messages from Soman. Her texts had seemed very intense. He had meant to reply, but had fallen asleep and completely forgotten. If he told her that, she would probably get even angrier. He apologized and said he had been busy studying, and then was too tired and forgot to reply. She wanted to know if he had really been studying or if he had been reading about religion with Hyun-ah. She had heard that he went to celebrate with Hyun-ah after the victory. Hyun-ah had talked a lot about it. He internally blamed Hyun-ah for talking too much. She knew he had held a mass with Hyun-ah. He asked her what she wanted. She wanted to ask for a favor, which he was already trying to refuse. First, she asked him to go for a coffee. He wanted to know if she was going to pay. She told him not to be like that and asked him to pay for her drink. At the café, they sat in silence. In front of them was Hyun-ah. She welcomed them warmly. Young didn't understand what she was doing there. She explained she was bored and was cleaning some cups. He asked when she had started working. She had been there for 3 days and was learning to make coffee. Soman was surprised. Hyun-ah had always said she would never work. She didn't understand where Soman got so many outdated ideas and said she just needed the money. Soman knew she was broke, but never had debts. Feeling a little embarrassed, Hyun-ah looked at Jang and quickly changed the subject, saying the drinks were on her. After Hyun-ah served the drinks, Soman found it strange that she was the one bringing them. But since they were all from the same club and the cafe wasn't busy that day, it made sense. Hyun-ah noticed Jang staring at her and told him to stop thinking weird things. Jang realized she was wearing an apron and thought it suited her well, which made Hyun-ah blush. She started hitting him and accusing him of suggesting she should stay at that job forever. Watching them, Soman looked to the side, feeling a bit jealous. Hyun-ah insisted they try the drinks. When Jang and Soman tasted them, they couldn't ignore how bad they were. Jang realized that was probably why the cafe was so empty. Hyun-ah asked if they were there to talk about games. Somin said that today she and Jang were going to cheer each other up. Jang felt a tickle under the table. It was Somin's leg. She said that ever since the last time he had cheered her up, she hadn't been able to stop thinking about it. He couldn't stop thinking about how crazy Soman was. He needed to calm down. Hyun-ah looked at them, confused. She didn't know what kind of cheering up he was talking about. He said that ever since their last win, they needed to lift their spirits. Hyun-ah still couldn't quite believe it, but she soon admitted that she had also become friends with Soman. It was a good thing that club members were getting along. Hyun-ah was about to leave and told them they could call her if they needed anything. Jang then complained to Soman. She asked him not to make a drama about it. She was just stretching her legs. Hyun-ah didn't seem to realize how he had cheered Soman up, and it seemed like he had lied. He wanted to know what favor she wanted. She had already told him she was there to be cheered up. He didn't understand why she was doing that with him. He asked if she was crazy. Was it just to boost his account? She knew he had done it before, but this time it was different. It had been a long time since he had done anything like that. He reminded her of all the problems she had caused with her lie, and even so, now she wanted to talk about boosting accounts again. He couldn't agree to it, at least not for Yoonji's sake. She asked him not to get angry. She had her reasons. First, she had taken a break from streaming because of someone, and now she had zero income. Even though she had savings, she was running low and couldn't do anything. He didn't know all the things women had to spend money on. Second, because of her zero income, it had become difficult to keep supporting the club. Jang asked if the club didn't get money from the university. He really didn't know anything. The club had no connection to the university. Ever since he joined, all they had done was play games and hold masses. Even if the club was just in a lousy basement, it was still in the middle of Seoul. He thought about how much rent and equipment must cost. Yoonji had tried to handle all the finances, and he barely managed to convince her to split the rent. But now Yoonji had too much on her shoulders. He figured he should also find a part-time job. He didn't seem to have heard everything Soman said. Everything could be solved if she started streaming again. But he didn't understand how that related to boosting her account. She explained that people had started talking. She had never actually played on her streams, only talked about it. She had started her career as a game streamer, but all he ever saw was her dancing and chatting. Then she realized that he had been following her streams all along. When she disappeared without explanation, her viewers turned against her, and rumors started that she had boosted her account again. So she needed evidence and planned her grand return with a ranked match. She wanted him to play close by, making it look like she was the one playing. It sounded stupid to him, but he understood her reasons. Game skills were necessary to save the club, but making it work was another story. He looked over at Hyun-ah, who didn't even know how to turn off the machine. He stayed silent and agreed. He would help Soman with her comeback. She was already celebrating, but he warned her he would not play for her. No matter what, he wouldn't boost her account. He didn't join the club for that, and he wouldn't do anything like that. Not now, not ever. She had already apologized to the club members for everything, and as the responsible person, he needed to change too. He couldn't accept doing something wrong just because someone from the club asked, even if it was for the club's sake. Soman was speechless and admitted he was right. Even though she had already bought a second PC for her house, he asked her to let him know next time. For her, it was the only way to make her come back. He told her it wasn't the only way. He asked if it was true that she had 2 PCs, which she confirmed. Then he suggested going to her house. He had a way to make it work. Soman said he sounded like a crazy religious guy and asked what his idea was. He asked her to trust her coach. She begged him to stop saying such cheesy things. Meanwhile, Hyun-ah watched them. They told Hyun-ah they were heading out to practice. She acknowledged their hard work. Jang joked a little with her, but she asked him to stop acting like that and added that they should come back often because she got bored easily. She asked them to visit more if they had time. He promised they would. They said goodbye, and Hyun-ah watched them walking away, joking together. which left her feeling a little uncomfortable seeing how close they were. At Soman's apartment, Young asked her to stop. He didn't know how far she was planning to go. He hadn't planned for this to happen. Soman was cleaning the chalice. Let's rewind a bit. They had arrived at Soman's apartment. Jang was surprised by her room. He looked as if he were staring at an exhibit. It was just that it was his first time ever in a girl's room. He hadn't seen her room the last time they met. He was shocked when he saw her PC. He couldn't believe he was seeing that model in person. She didn't seem to realize how good it was. It was one of the best pre-built PCs of the time. It was expected, though, coming from a streamer. The PC was worth around $3,000 or $4,000. A viewer had sent it to her, so she hadn't even finished unpacking it. Luckily, she hadn't sold it. She asked what method he was planning to use to bring her back to streaming. She wondered if she should trust her coach for a second. He stayed silent at first. Then suddenly he asked what she was doing, telling her not to move like that and questioning if she was sure she wanted to use her skill there. He also pointed out that the strategy she was using was wrong. It seemed like she was taking it as a joke. Now he was playing support and guiding her on what to do. She gave the correct verbal answers but did the complete opposite in-game. She had totally lost control of her area and started taking damage. Her gameplay phase was a disaster, and she asked what she should do next. She listened carefully to everything he said but kept a cold and discouraged look on her face. Suddenly, she slammed her hand on the desk. He asked what was wrong since they were still in the middle of the match. She asked if this was really his super method because, at that rate, she would never be able to stream again. He admitted she was right. Before she could say anything more, he lightly smacked her on the head, something even Yoonji had never done. He did it because she was still a novice. He told her that if she didn't change her attitude, she would never improve. She just needed to keep doing that for 2 months. If she did, she could rank up without needing account boosting. She couldn't understand how she could do that in 2 months. But she had already reached gold by herself before. She wasn't entirely without talent. She could do it. The day she confessed to boosting her account, everyone had placed their trust in her, so she needed to live up to those expectations. This made her think for a second, but she immediately brushed it off. He knew that would happen. She wouldn't change just because of words. Old sayings were true after all. He had to teach her the hard way. They would have to start from scratch. He grabbed her face and asked if she was really going to keep messing up like that, and if it was really that hard to stop missing all the troops. It seemed like she was getting worse and worse. She excused herself by saying that her coach was terrible. He hugged her and asked her to say that again. He didn't understand her bad attitude. If she stopped missing troops, she could earn money and get stronger. Someone as bad as her should at least understand that. Suddenly, he noticed something. Part of her cosplay outfit was showing. She asked him what he was staring at, saying she was feeling hot. Looking closer, he saw that the yogurt she had brought was melting. He started thinking maybe she was playing badly on purpose to make this happen. She denied it. There was no reason for her to do that. Even so, he wasn't convinced, especially considering the outfit she was wearing. He got closer to her. He realized that she was doing it so that he would cheer her up, failing in the game, asking for account boosting, making mistakes, all hoping for that. But he immediately stopped himself. There was no way Soman would do something like that. He said they should just stop for today. She grabbed him by the shirt and asked if he would cheer her up if she didn't fail. He knew deep down that it wasn't possible, but still, she wanted an answer. In his mind, there was no way he would do it. However, moments later, he saw her reach the maximum score. She didn't miss once. He couldn't believe it. Even a pro player would have struggled a little. Looking down, he saw Somin holding the chalice, wanting to start cleaning it. He asked her to stop, not knowing how far she was planning to go. That wasn't what they had come there for. While she watched the chalice shine, he realized it was her first time cleaning one. She kept polishing it, making it shine even more brightly. Unexpectedly, he spilled the holy water, but even that didn't stop her. When she set the chalice aside, he asked if she was okay, but she simply finished drinking the holy water, which made Yang blush. She showed him that she had drunk it all and had done it properly. He was confused. Was she really the same person? She asked him not to speak to her. He thought maybe she had lost her memory or something like that. He kept looking at her and decided to change the conditions. This time he wanted to do it seriously, something she immediately refused. He knew she was confused, so they would find the answer together. This time she had to win a match with at least 10 enemy eliminations. She didn't know how she could manage that, but he assured her she could if she just stayed true to herself. He believed she was more than capable. That made her blush even more. In the end, she managed to win, but only with 9 eliminations. It surprised him. She looked sad for missing just one. For his part, he was speechless. He hadn't expected her to achieve that much. It really was possible. He told her he had so much hope in her. She wanted to try once more, but he had only promised her one chance. He looked at her and saw she was crying. He called out to her and picked her up, placing her gently on the bed. She wanted to know what he was doing since she hadn't achieved the 10 eliminations. It was true, but luckily for her, he wasn't a very strict coach. From now on, they would hold a mass instead. He went to check if he had any rosaries, but Soman stopped him and searched under her pillow. She had several rosaries ready, just in case. How careful she was. Moments later, they were both reading the Bible. She asked him how long he had been holding back. He asked if everything was just an excuse to pray. He told her not to lie. He knew she had jumped at the first opportunity. She even had rosaries ready. Maybe it was also to bring her viewers into it. But she denied it, saying that Somin only had him. He was surprised by her answer. He could see she had completely lost her sense of reason. So he decided to speed up the mass to purify Soman's soul. She felt like she should grab the holy water, but he decided to hold on a little longer. When she finally spilled the holy water, he stopped reading and served her a little directly.